All right, hey guys. So it's early morning here at the Edgar House, but I know we didn't get time to finish this lesson yesterday. And I looked at my schedule and then looked. I know some of you have some math and ELA help sessions this morning, so I wasn't quite sure when to fit an extra session in for you. So I thought I might just do a recording and then you could watch it as you could. So this is basically where we left off with both classes yesterday. We left off on Queen Elizabeth I. We watched that quick video from Simple History. And then we left off there. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the lesson, and then you'll be able to have all the information to take your assessment, and you can do that on your own time today. Okay, so let's see. Queen Elizabeth's coronation took place at Westminster Abbey, where the English monarchs had been crowned since the time of William the Conqueror, and almost half a millennium earlier. So millennium is, remember, 1,000 years. Elizabeth was the second woman in history to rule England as a queen, and then the next half century came to be known as the Elizabethan age. So from an early age, she learned to live with danger, change, and suspicion because, she was Queen Mary's sister. And so there was a lot of, going back and forth with that. For years, she'd moved from one drafty place to another. She even spent time locked up in the Tower of London by her sister, Queen Mary. As she took the throne, she attempted to find a solution that would solve many of the troubles of her subjects. She declared England as the nation's official church. England is a Protestant nation, and then as the Protestants as the England's national official church. And then for some time, she didn't punish Catholics like, her sister Mary punished Protestants. She didn't punish Catholics for practicing their religion in private. While this tolerance did not last, its policies helped to quiet unrest at home early on. So as she kind of continued on in her rule, she did begin to punish Catholics. But at first she said, hey, listen, as long as you're practicing at home, it's not becoming a widespread thing for our country. I'm going to go ahead and allow it. So then we have the coronation, which is the ceremony or act of a crowning of a ruler. So key personalities, Elizabeth I, just to kind of review, she was the sister of Mary I and daughter of King Henry VIII. Remember yesterday we did that little tier where we had, King Henry was up here, and then he married Catherine, and he married, oh my goodness, I'm for a loss of thoughts. Catherine, who was the middle one? Now I have to go back. Let's see. There we go. He married Catherine, then, Anne Boleyn, and then came Edward. So Catherine was Queen Mary's mother, and then Anne Boleyn was Queen Elizabeth's mother, and then Jane Seymour was King Edward, the little King Edward's mother. So, all right. So that is Queen Elizabeth and the coronation. And then Elizabeth I, again, sister of Mary. She was the second queen to rule England, reversed the laws against Protestantism, restored the Church of England, and allowed Catholics in England. She helped to make England into a major European power and set them on a path towards becoming a world power. She commissioned Drake and Raleigh to explore the New World and to seek out trade and settlement opportunities for the English. She never married, and she ruled for nearly 50 years. She died in 1603. Her period of rule was known as the Elizabethan age. So quick check, if we were in class, I would cover this up and have you, revert back to me what we know about Queen Elizabeth. But she basically stabilized English, ended some revolts. She pushed England into challenging Spain for access to the New World and trade opportunities, wealth, and even colonies. So in listening back to what I said, I think I said stabilized English, stabilized England. That's what you got for doing a recording early in the morning, right? All right, so challenges to the dominance of Spain. So we talked yesterday, someone I think in my first class, maybe it was my second class, said, what were the issues between England and Spain? So Spain's powerful King Philip II saw himself as a defender of the Catholic Church against the rise of Protestantism. And remember, that was Queen Mary's husband. In the cause, he was supported by the Pope, the Inquisition, and the Jesuits. And remember, the Inquisition was that group that developed after Protestantism, after Reformation, and Protestant religion came to be. The Catholic Church then went in and said, okay, we need to kind of, refresh some things and get some check on our religion. So Philip also possessed the wealth of Spain's territories in the New World. In early 1500s, Spain and its neighbor Portugal led Europe in the exploration of foreign lands. Their sailors and soldiers carved out empires and built trade networks that spanned the globe. Spices, gems, silver, gold, and slaves all crossed the Atlantic in Spanish vessels. Riches beyond imagination poured into port cities of Spain. The English saw this wealth and wanted some of it for their own. So again, remember, a lot of power is government, wealth, glory, all of that kind of stuff. So during Elizabeth's reign, English mariners set sail in a quest for treasure, glory, and overseas territories. English ships began to nose their way into the Caribbean, much to Spain's alarm. And so the Englishman who caused the Spanish the most concern, it was a redhead captain named Francis Drake. I don't know, are any of you redheads? Sometimes redheads get coined as being very, very driven. My brother's a redhead. My niece is a redhead. So anyway, so he was Francis Drake. Francis Drake sailed to Panama on one of Spain's colonies. He led his men inland, seized 30 tons of Spanish silver, and slipped back aboard his ship before his enemies even knew what had hit them. Raiding Spanish settlements was only one activity done by the English. They also began to explore the North Atlantic and the lands of North America. This would eventually lead to the creation of the English colony of Roanoke. When this did fail, it would lead to additional efforts of the English. And Roanoke, you'll learn more about that in American history. But Roanoke is kind of this exploration or a new site where they founded, and then some left and to bring back more people or to bring back more ideas. And when they came back, the colony was gone. So they don't know what happened to the colony, whether it was weather, people just didn't survive the weather, whether it was, something else. It's just kind of a lost colony, they consider Roanoke. So there was a rivalry as a competition or fighting for the same object or superiority in the same field. And we know that happened a lot. So personalities, Giovanni Caboto was an Italian explorer and navigator that sailed to the New World in 1497 for the British. He was known by his English name of John Cabot. So, that name may sound more familiar to you than Giovanni Caboto. He landed in Canada. His voyage was the basis for the English claims to North America. Then we have Jacques Cartier. He was a French explorer and navigator. He sailed to North America from France between 1534 and 1536. His voyage took him into the St. Lawrence River, and his voyage laid the French claims for much of Western Canada for France. So, we've got the French, we've got the English, or England, we got France, England, Spain. So all of these old world countries coming over and claiming their stake in the New World. A little bit more on Francis Drake. He was a sailor and navigator. He began harassing and raiding Spanish ships and territorial possessions. He worked to take anything of value for England. The Spanish called him the Dragon, and they declared him a pirate as ship after ship fell victim to him. So on one voyage on the Golden Hind, which we talked about that, he sailed down the west coast of Africa and then down the Atlantic coast of South America, where he targeted both Portuguese and Spanish ships. He proceeded to sail through the Strait of Magellan, plundering more Spanish ships and settlements along the way. From there, he crossed the Pacific towards the Philippines and then the Spice Islands. From there, he sailed his ship and crew home and became the first captain to sail around the world. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth. He also served with the English ships to fight against the Spanish Armada. Okay, so remember, there was a lot of patrons, people giving money for exploration, and he was funded to kind of take those trips. So a type of gold from the New World. When English explorers returned to England from the New World, they brought back many things. We learned about this in the last unit, the Columbian Exchange. They brought back this golden leaf known as tobacco. England soon learned that tobacco was almost as valuable as South American gold. Europeans paid enormous prices for the golden weed. They loved to smoke it and believed it to cure almost any ailment. So, when we think of tobacco today, we think of, people smoking a pipe. We think of it being, not always a good thing. But back then, they saw the tobacco as not only, taking pleasure in smoking it as a pipe, as people might do today, but they saw it as for medicinal purposes. They saw it, to help cure ailments. They saw it to make people better if someone was sick. So it was widely sought after, not just, as we would see tobacco used today, but as a medicine. So a different sense than what we would see it today. Sir Walter Raleigh was an accomplished soldier and sailor. He was a courtier to Queen Elizabeth. He wanted to explore North America. Queen Elizabeth gave permission for a colony to be established in North America. Again, remember, she was a patron. She was paying other people to go explorer. Raleigh was not allowed to go on the voyage by Queen Elizabeth. That site that was selected in 1585 was off the coast of what is now North Carolina, known as Roanoke Island. And again, we're not going to spend a ton of time on that because you will learn more about Roanoke Island in 8th grade, but it was kind of considered this lost colony that was kind of there and then gone. He named the colony Virginia in honor of Queen Elizabeth. The major result of this colonization in the New World would be the introduction of tobacco to the Old World, which was highly prized and desired by Europeans and made a lot of money for the English. So again, went from the Old World over to the New World, if you think of that Columbian Exchange map that we used in the last unit. So who were the major English explorers and what did they explore? Cabot explored the Atlantic and North America. Drake, the Atlantic and the Americas, circumnavigation, he went all the way around. Raleigh organized the planning, exploration, and early colonization of North America. The Spanish attempts to strike back. So again, there's this fighting between the English and Spain. So relations between Spain and English got worse when Queen Elizabeth sent men and money to support Dutch Protestants fighting for independence from Catholic Spain. A huge Spanish fleet was gathered, meaning a huge group of boats, was gathered and sent to invade England. The Pope called it the Invincible Armada and saw it as a holy crusade to crush the English, to get rid of Queen Elizabeth, and to restore England to the Catholic faith. The weaker English navy battled the Spanish fleet by keeping their distance and using their superior guns to fight from long range. During the night, the English attacked the Spanish with hellburners or fire ships to attack the anchored Spanish fleet. With Spanish ships burning and gunpowder exploding, the fleet scattered and sailed blindly into the night. So you can only, imagine or picture that situation and how it happened. Mother Nature took over where the English left off, and a fierce storm with gale force winds struck the remaining Spanish ships, driving them towards the north. This was taken as a sign from God. When the fleet returned to Spain, they found that they lost almost 2/3 of their men and well over half of their ships. So the Spanish Armada, right down here, Spanish Armada, an armada is a fleet of warships, a Spanish invasion force consisting of 130 ships and 19,000 soldiers sent against England by King Philip II of Spain in 1588. So another quick check. What are the causes and results of the conflict with Spain? Access to the New World, trade opportunities, exploration challenges, attacks on Spanish and Portuguese ships for gold and silver, and then the support of Protestantism. So those are the causes and the results of the conflict. So then we have England enters this golden age. As England began to emerge as a major European power, merchants, shopkeepers, and artisans, they began to thrive. Goods sailed towards Asia, Africa, Europe, and even towards the Americas. This allowed the island kingdom to swell with confidence and ambition. Writers breathed new vitality into English poetry and drama. These would be inspired from English history, folk traditions, humanism, the classics, and the ideas of Italian writers. So now we move on to William Shakespeare. He was born at Stratford Upton in Avon in 1564, simply known as the Bard, and is considered the greatest playwright of Elizabethan England. Some might argue this, but I tell you, your test will not. So hint, hint, wink, wink, there's a question on your test. In the late 1580s, he went to London and began as an actor. His real genius was as a writer. So he was this amazing writer. He wrote many plays which held something for everyone in them: humor, action, romance. His works showed insight into human nature. He drew inspiration from Greek comedies and tragedies, Italian romances, and English history and folk traditions. A bard is a poet, traditionally one reciting epics and associated with a particular oral tradition. So the most famous plays were Hamlet, Julius Caesar, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and then The Twelfth Night and The Merchant of Venice. I think most of us probably have heard of Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet the most. Probably you, Romeo and Juliet, even more. There's a lot of movie takes that have been done on that, modern movies. So Edmund Spenser, again, I know we learned about him in the flip video, but here's a little more. He was an English author and poet brought to the attention of Queen Elizabeth by Sir Raleigh. He wrote an epic poem called The Faerie Queene. Hint, hint, you'll need to know that as well. The queen in the poem was none other than Elizabeth herself. He had planned the epic to be a total of 12 books, but only completed 6 before his death. He blended the English language with the love of classics and with a familiarity with the Italian writers. So unfortunately, his works did not completely finish. What are the accomplishments of Spenser and Shakespeare? Developed and popularized English culture, language and literature into writing and popular culture, mixed in the use of classics, folklore, and humanism, and began to rival Italian writers and literature. So they kind of, went back and forth. All right, so now is the time. If you have not finished your reading, please make sure you do that. Reading pages 272 to 289. Make sure your student guide pages, it's actually 178 to 181 need to be completed. And then remember, page 183 to 185 is just a model theater that you can go ahead and make. Okay, so please make sure that you do complete your readings. And then once you're finished, you are welcome to take the assessment. It will open this afternoon. I just want to make sure you have time to watch this video. Okay, so have a great day, and I will see you all on Monday. Thanks for joining me. Sorry for the morning hair and the morning glasses. I didn't have time to put in my contacts yet this morning, but I wanted to get this video out to you. All right, have a great day, guys.